Welcome back to the Hiding for Horrors podcast, where we review horror movies and horror franchises. I'm Mark.
I'm Tawan.
And today, we aren't reviewing a movie or a franchise. Today, we are having a little special episode where I'm asking the question, what would you do if you were given any horror movie or horror movie franchise, and you had the option to make a remake, a sequel, a prequel, or requel, and what would it be? A little confused? Well, let me go first. For me, I was thinking, it's kind of lame, but I was thinking we do another Friday the 13th, but not as a remake, not as a requel. Well, no, not as a remake, not as a requel, a sequel. But like a legacy sequel where we take Tommy Jarvis and we take that chick from the second movie who survived, and we take the chick with the telekinesis, you remember her? Who was like moving shit like Carrie.
How old would they be now?
They'd be pretty old. But like, the movie wouldn't be them. It'd be like their kids. Like, let's say Tommy Jarvis hooked up with the weird telekinesis chick. They had a kid, or actually, no, let me change it. Tommy Jarvis can be the old crazy man like we had in the first two movies. He could be warning people away from Camp Crystal Lake, and for some reason, the chick from the second movie, because she was a child counselor or whatever, she decided, like, you know what, let's reopen the camp and let's change it around. It's been, what, 3 decades since the last Jason sighting, so let's do this again. But, they get there, something happens, and Jason's back, and Jason kills everyone. Kills the chick from the second movie. Tommy Jarvis is dead. There's a new survivor. It's pretty much a regular Friday the 13th movie, just like, with a Halloween 2018 twist on it. What do you think?
I don't know how I feel about that. Because,
Like,
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that would add, like that's adding to Jason that we don't that we don't maybe need.
Okay. What if we had like a Battle of the Survivors, like the final people type of thing, where everyone who survived the Jason movie, they wake up in this like deserted campground, and Jason's there, and they all have to fight to survive again, and only a few do. Would you cash it or pass it?
If we got some good kills, I'll cash it, because when it comes down to a slasher at a certain point, like especially a Jason movie, we're not watching for the plot. It's just really the kills.
We really are,
and that's honestly why I like the remake, because I thought the kills in the remake were pretty decent. Personally,
I passed on the remake, but I have to admit the kills were really good. Like those kills they're really good. Like that kill where he threw that knife in the back of that guy, and then in that guy's back.
Oh yeah,
top tier. And then just let him scream and yell for help for like minutes. Well, that was my bad pitch, but we do have a pitch from some listeners, and first up is a pitch from Armani.
All right, y'all. So my name is Armani, and if I had to pick a horror movie series that I would want to do a sequel for, I would do Final Destination. Those movies have always been my absolute favorite. I would be corny and make it in Chicago. I'd probably call it like Final Destination, and then put like The Loop, and it's gonna play into the story later. And obviously, like any Final Destination movie, you gotta have like your little obvious foreshadowing. I think we get the preacher from State Street. Maybe put him near like Adams and Wabash, because it's gonna take place mostly on the train in the beginning, and basically all the characters gonna be like coming from all over. Maybe like some suburban kids. Maybe there's like a music festival happening in like Grant Park, and everyone's going all over. You got some inner city kids. You got some people from the north side. Like super like giddy people, And then, you have some little badass kids, throw them all in the mix. Everyone's hearing the preacher be like, "You're going to hell, repent now before your death, blah, blah, blah." And then everyone's like, "Oh, that guy's crazy," right? Everyone gets on the train, and Adam and Wabash, main character, boom, has a permeation. It's like, oh my God, we're all going to die. And, he sees like the train, the green line going down, turning towards a building, but instead it like derails, it hits a building, and like everyone in the building dies, everyone in the train cart dies, everyone who's going to the music festival, or even just like anywhere downtown, like on a Chicago summer day, boom, everyone's dead. But he starts freaking out. And then that's when a bunch of other people start being like, "Oh no," like just like in the other movies. You know what I mean? Like that shit's like very like a cookie cutter, but it's what makes it amazing. And then there's one guy who's like probably like, no, oh hell no, like I'm getting off. This white kid's crazy. And then you know what I mean? And then there's a bunch of other people who are like, I'm just gonna get off. And then boom, all those people from different walks of life now they have to like work together to not die. But instead of like like since in the other ones, if you like kind of like figure out how to not to die, it still comes back to you. It's a loop. That's you see why I picked the loop. But yeah, that would be the movie that I would pick personally. I love the Final Destination series, and also, I could definitely find so many ways for them to die in a very like Chicago fashion. First of all, the first thing we're using are the like the ventilation grates downtown. We're using one of those. We don't know what's down there, but we can make up a lie. We can make it could be like some type of weird machine that they fall into, But yeah, that's the movie I would pick. And my name's Romani. I don't remember if I said that. Okay, thank you.
I kind of like that idea. It's kind of weird. It hits too close to home, given that I take the train here in Chicago every once in a while. So that would definitely freak me out, like the rest of them do. But I like the idea of like having the city be a part of Def's design. Because when he said like having them die in like Chicago ways, I was like, how could we get the beam to like crush somebody? What are your thoughts?
I do like it. And because it involves a train, I would somehow try to connect it to Final Destination 3 and that ending. I probably would change it from the L to the subway just so we could and retcon some shit to get it connected because of the ending
That
of
would
Final
work.
Destination
And
3.
the subway does run downtown, so it would still connect.
Yeah, it would. I mean, I feel like that. That could also be something right there too, like even if for a little retcon type of situation to get it mixed in with the other ones. But I like it, the inclusion of the. Well, actually, I feel like for some listeners, for those who don't know, like if you're not from Chicago, there is this preacher downtown and in
Oh
the
my
city,
god!
and everybody knows who he is. Like he literally will just be on one of the main streets downtown, State Street, in front of like whatever store down there, and he has his speaker, his microphone, and you walk past him, he tells you that you're going to hell. It don't matter who you are.
It's And it doesn't matter the time of the year. He'll be out there in 100-degree weather. He'll be out
He's
there
out there
in like
every day.
2-degree weather full of snow. If you see like memes about Chicago and they like show you like a photo of a black guy with a phone box, it's him.
Or if you
It's
just look up
literally him.
if you look up State Street Preacher, he's gonna pop up. He's basically a local celebrity here because everybody knows
Hell,
who
if you
he
go
is.
on Google Maps, he's probably on there.
I wouldn't be surprised. So, just having him as a background character, saying that you're going to die before they do in Final Destination, The Loop, or Chicago. I mean, it kind of checks off. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It does. And I like that he wants to use the city as part of the plot. Because I feel like most Final Destination movies don't do that. They don't really use their setting to like help drive the plot or like help be part of like the kill or anything. So that would be like interesting. Again, because I like, damn, how can I like how can we get to want to be crushed by the beam? Or like have the climax be at Navy Pier.
True, Ferris wheel.
Yep. or even the sky thing at the Sears Tower. Like, there's so many like ways you can incorporate the city into it. I like it. I would probably cash that.
You know me, I pretty much as long as the group is fairly likable. If I'm destination, I'm pretty much cash it. I think the only out of all of them, the only one we didn't like was four, and that's pretty much everybody.
Because that group was like there was no one to root for in that fourth one. And if there's no one to root for, then why am I watching this? Because there's no killer to root for. So who am I here for?
hmm
We did. That was a good one. That was a complete cast for us. But moving on to another one, we have Mike. Mike has been on our show once. I think it was for Alien Covenant, but he also made a couple of our cover arts. Let's see what Mike has for us.
Hi, this is Michelangelo, and my movie pick would be the movie Trick or Treat. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Trick or Treat, it is an anthology movie that tells the story of Sam, who is this. Basically, he's an embodiment of the spirit of Halloween, kind of like inspired by Sam Hain. So he looks like a child, and he's able to walk around on Halloween and kind of blend in because of his size, and it just looks like he's wearing a costume. He carries around a lollipop too, so I think that kind of sells the image of him being a child and being unthreatening. But he has a ton of powers and is totally unkillable. Sam goes around punishing people who disrespect Halloween's traditions and generally punishes bad people on Halloween. An example of that would be that in the movie there was a bus driver who back in the day drove a bunch of disabled school children off a cliff, I believe, and that caused them to drown, and he never faced justice for it. And so when Sam punished him, he actually had the spirits of the children come after him, which I thought was a pretty cool scene and a pretty good story. But that's just one of several stories in the movie where some of the characters are not great people. And so I have a comic for the series. It is a 10th anniversary hardcover comic that kind of chronicles the events of the movie. In addition to that, introducing new stories that take place during different time periods. So one example is 1950s Los Angeles. Another example is kind of medieval times. And then another example is there's one that takes place in an indigenous community where pilgrims have arrived and are doing pilgrim things, horrible things. I think that the movie would work best keeping the same kind of concept of being an anthology instead of focusing on having an overarching storyline. But I would say that my idea for a sequel would also involve taking place during different time periods, because it gives a lot of creative freedom to tell stories, especially since Sam is hundreds of years old. I think that horror movies that can tell stories across different time periods are not super common, but it works pretty well. And an example of that would be the movie Fear Street, which there's 3 parts to it, and those 3 different parts all take place during different time periods. However, the difference with Fear Street is that it kind of tells a complete story within those 3 movies. But I would say that you could either do the same with Sam kind of tethering everything together, especially if you have the time periods being a lot closer, so like every 10 years or so. So it can kind of go over one person's life that happened to be affected by the events in the movie. up till the very end, or you could just have it be completely separate, different time periods. But I think that experimenting with different time periods for that movie, especially since it's an anthology, would be pretty fun.
I'm gonna be honest. I've never seen any Trick or Treat movie, so I don't know. I have not. I don't have much to say because I don't know. I have nothing to base it off of. I have seen the guy in costume. I think I've seen like one clip of some kids being like murdered or eaten by some zombie people, but I've never actually seen this movie, so I don't have much to say. I can't say how that would like line up with the other two movies. What about you? Have you seen Trick or Treat? Tricks are treats. I think
Yeah,
that's how
I've
I think
seen
it's
it.
pronounced.
It's only one movie though. I think they are
Oh,
working on a second one, or like a second one's been in the works for so long. I know that first movie came out in like I think it was like '07 or '08, but the sequel has like never come out. They've always like talked about it, but nothing's like come from it. So we don't. So we are kind of waiting, but um, I do like the concept, and I like in general. I do like an anthology. Now, in movie form, it is like it depends of how good is like put together, or like the connections between them. Because to give an example, we have like those the VHS movie anthologies where those kind of just they I feel like they kind of started as trying to connect them, and then after a while they were just kind of they had like the background story going on, and then the little like short little like anthology things in between that may or may not have even related to what was happening, and the little background overarching story for everything. So I think as long as if that aspect is good of it, um, it pulls the whole thing together. Because some people may feel as though like they're watching a collection of different things instead of this story is just told but in different like segments. So as long as all that's like pulled together really nicely, I think it can come together and be what we would probably give like a cash to. Um, one of even though he's not the best and all of his stuff is not the best. I feel like that's why most people like American Horror Stories because each season is something different. It may not be what you want out of Ryan Murphy, but like you
I
get
don't want
some.
anything out of Ryan Murphy. At this point, if I see Ryan Murphy's name on it, it's a pass.
I get it.
With the exception of 911,
I
he
get
can
it,
keep everything
but the
else.
concept, just the general concept.
Yeah, I feel like it could work. Like again, I haven't seen the Trick or Treat movie, so I think I would have to watch it to get a better understanding. So I don't know. I wouldn't be able to say if I would cash or pass that because I don't have anything to compare it to.
That's fair.
I also haven't seen the VHS movie, so I haven't seen any anthology horror movie. Sorry. But what about you, Tuan? Do you have a pitch for us? Is it going to be a sequel or prequel or remake or requel?
Yeah, I've kind of thought about this like a number of times. 'Cause I feel like I kind of do it a bit during some of our like episodes that we do reviews for. But I think if I had to do one, just because it was an idea that I really was hoping to happen, I believe that I would change Scream 6 from what it was, from the whole, basically not redoing of 2, but like redoing the revenge plot from 2 with the family. Because I think with Scream 6, I really liked the movie, but once we got to the end, not saying it fell apart for me, but I was like kind of less interested with our killers when we got towards the end of the movie, when it turned out to just be like the family. And it was slightly anticlimactic on their side of things. And I personally think that I would do Scream Six differently, and I kind of and I talked and I me and Mark talked about this before the movie came out, like our theories of what we thought was going to happen, and I really think that it would be a bit of a better movie if we went more in the realm of like true crime and kind of like podcasting and stuff like that. I personally see the story being, because they kind of covered this a little bit in the movie with the whole like Reddit stuff and how they were kind of spinning the narrative against Sam and that type of thing. I probably would keep that like aspect of it, but I would add into it that maybe somebody is trying to like they're trying to coax Sam into um getting into what they feel she is as far as like killer and murderer, to push an agenda for either like say like a podcast or like a true crime type of show, like something to kind of push the gamut a little further, kind of like going off what Richie and Amber did in Five, doing it so that they can make a new movie, but instead doing it so that they can um have like kind of a true crime type of deal. And I feel like it was mentioned a bit, it was not mentioned a bit, it was mentioned like very slightly by Gail in the movie about how like true crime is like the main thing now, and I kind of thought that's where they were going to go with it, but they didn't. So they went a whole different way with the revenge plot line again, which, yeah, like I mentioned, I didn't feel it was bad per se, I just felt it kind of fell off towards the towards the reveal and such.
Well, I have another pitch. This one is kind of it's I don't know. I think it makes sense, and only because I like this franchise, but I can't support the franchise because of who's behind it. But I want to do a prequel to Jeepers Creepers, and I want it set in like I don't even know. Have it set in like the around the time of like when the Pilgrims, the first settlers, and we could actually set. Cause I don't know. Do we know where the Jeepers Creepers movies take place? I don't know if that was ever mentioned in the movies. Do you know?
I don't know actually if they ever did mention a location. We just it kind of just gave like um Midwest vibes.
Because I was thinking that if we could set the prequel around the time where some of the first settlers came in, and we could explain that that's what happened to the villagers of Roanoke, that they were taken by the creeper, and we can get into a little bit more of the creature's backstory and trying to like I not completely answer the question of what the creeper is, but give a little bit more backstory, like fill in a little bit, but still leave a lot left unsaid and like touched. And it'd be interesting to to see the kills, because it'd be somewhat easier because they wouldn't have the same technology that we had, or the people that had in the first three movies. So, and even with like guns and harpoons, it was still hard to try to like get that thing down. So like imagine what he'd be doing to people who really only had like sticks of fire and stuff. Like, and of course the kills would be big and crazy and look better, and it wouldn't have that Victor Miller pedophile guy anywhere near it, which is the most important part. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like a good prequel series. I mean, a good prequel movie. Not Victor Miller. That's the wrong guy. Victor Miller is the guy from Friday the 13th. No, that's not. It's not who I meant. But I do think that director's name is Victor. Yes, it's Victor Salva. Victor Salva will be nowhere near this movie. But I do think a prequel that gives a little bit of detail will be perfect. What do you think?
I think I would definitely watch that. Um, Seeing like the Jeepers Creepers monster chase them on like horseback. I feel like that'd be a kind of good little set piece.
Right? Like instead of like his truck, he has like a little horse and carriage. Like, come on.
Maybe they're like demon horses or some shit. We don't know what he could do.
Yeah, and like we could explore more about his origins. We wouldn't even know, because it's stated that he's been around for a long time.
Hmm.
Like, I wouldn't want a movie to go all the way back to like his origins. Like, I wouldn't want that. Like, I don't want to know too much. I don't want to see the damn thing being born or dropped from the sky. That takes away the mystique. But give me a movie set a century or so before the first movie and put it during that time, and let's just watch how those people dealt with it and see what they were able to figure out. And then when we decide to have another movie that's a sequel to the third movie, we can have a descendant of one of those characters in the prequel, and we can even tie it back to Justin. What's that man's name? Justin who?
Just
Justin Long. Justin Long character and his sister. Like, it could. I don't know. I feel like a prequel would be a good place to go, and that way you can like weave in threads for like later movies if you wanted to.
I like that. Yeah, I think that could. I feel like that would work pretty well. Um,
You
Because
just gotta
like
save that for.
I feel like Jeepers Creepers like could fit really well in that time period, like just the look of him. Especially he already wears like like the coats and all that type of stuff, like that kind of like get ups that they would wear like back then. Like he would fit that. So I
And
see.
even if you wanted to explain his origin, you can see. I know I said I didn't want to see him being creative, but like you could also, but if someone wanted to do that, and if you had to make that movie or that miniseries, you could say that like, okay, he was an indigenous person on this continent, and when the settlers came in, they took their land. We're American. We know what our people what the American settlers did. They took people's land. They killed some innocent people. They killed some men. They killed some children. We could say that he was a victim of that, and then he went to someone. He went to the local witch or witch person and was like, give me something, give me a way to help save our people and save our land. And that was the result. And he kind of just lost control of himself. That also could work. But that would explain too much and that would upset me if I watched it.
That's why when you said you wanted to know about more about the substance, I'm like, why? You don't never want to know
Yes, it would
more.
upset. I never want to know more. Like, don't explain. Like, I have these questions, but I don't want the answer. That's kind of person. Like, don't answer my questions, please. Just walk away from me and leave me on red because they would make me mad if you actually answered it. But what about you? Do you have another pitch for us?
Yeah, so this one would be like a mashup, and it's one that's been talked about before, like on Twitter stuff. But like I've also thought about it in my head when I after I had seen the second movie. So it would be the mashup between like Happy Death Day and that movie Freaky. Um, I don't know if you've seen either
Freaky,
of
was
those.
that the one with Vince Vaughn?
Yes, and Catherine Langford, and they like swapped bodies, and he was a serial killer.
Okay. I've seen parts of that.
Yeah, so both like Happy Death Day and Freaky, they both were directed by Christopher Landon, who was supposed to do Scream for 7 before he dropped out of it. Um, but I could definitely see like because the tones of both of those movies are kind of the same, and I could really see a like a mashup of those two. Because if I recall, the character, like Catherine Langford's character, was in high school. I don't think we know where in high school she was, like what. I'm gonna say age range, not what like class she was in, if she was like a senior or whatever. So the way I see it is that she's going to the same college that the character Tree is from Happy Death Day, and once again, like the kind of the birthday loop happens, but um they end up getting swapped with their bodies, kind of like with Freaky. And Catherine Langford's character is inside of the girl from Happy Death Day, and she's getting chased down like by someone who's trying to kill the main character Tree. And kind of like the opposite is happening for Tree's character and Catherine Langford's body. Kind of like basically like the combining both the situations and giving them the opposite of what was happening in their prior movies, and they got to kind of fix it. If you get what I mean.
I do, but I've only seen one half of that. I've only seen Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day 2. I haven't really seen Freaky. I've seen like bits and pieces online, so I kind of know the story, but I think it would work. I would kind of like that. That would draw me in. That would. I'm just thinking like how like crazy the trailer would be. Like that would have to be a crazy good trailer to get me to be like, okay, I'm buckled in for this. But I think it could work.
Yeah, I think so too. I think like the idea's definitely been floated out there before, so it's definitely like not my original idea. It definitely was something that I've seen prior, and I've like thought about it, like how I feel like could work, especially since both of them were done by the same director, and I feel as though the tone is shared between them are kind of the same in a sense, and yeah, and I like both the main actresses too. They in like the movies they had like the good little um point where it was slight like good kills, slight little like not really scary, but a couple little scares in there, and but it was like had like good heart. It was like a little bit funny as well. So I think it could really work between those two, especially since they essentially have like the same tone going for them.
I like that. I feel like that's something like I could definitely get behind that. I feel like it could be an interesting story.
Hmm.
And to like to see the characters interact and kind of like come to the realization that they're interacting in this way, and they're both like, okay, we both been through weird stuff separately, but now I'm dealing with this with someone else. It could be very interesting, especially if we get to the end and they're like, okay, now we have to like take out the serial killer. What do I do now? So,
Hmm. I have to
so yeah, I'm
I have to show
interested to
you
see
that
that.
movie though. I have to. You say you haven't. It was Freaky that you haven't seen,
I haven't seen Freaky. No,
but you saw
I've
both
only
Happy
seen
Death
like
Days.
I've seen I've seen over half of Happy Death Day 2, but I
Mm.
know how it ends. So
Okay.
yeah, but I've seen enough of Happy Death Day 2. I've seen all of Happy Death Day. So yeah, I have to see Freaky.
Yeah, I
I'm
feel
just
like
missing out
Freaky
on
will be a
Freaky.
fun one to cover. It was honestly, when I watched it, I wasn't thinking much of it like going into it. It was actually really good, and the kills were surprisingly gory in there. I was not expecting that.
Oh really?
Yeah, and like just the acting since like Vince Vaughn has to basically be like a fucking little college girl, act like a little college girl, and Catherine Langford is
Mm-hmm.
playing like him as a serial killer. They both did really good.
Okay, I have to check that out. Yeah, I've been completely missing out on that. So I would have to definitely like get into it.
In regards to that anthology series I was telling you guys about, Mike Flanagan would be the director of the episodes. And I would choose either Netflix or Peacock. The writers of the anthology series would be the same writers who wrote the Dahmer series that was on Netflix. The episodes will be 45 minutes long, 10 episodes. Some of the episodes would be from Allison's point of view, and so many other ones would be from the other characters that are in the series point of view. Instead of just keeping it focused on Allison all the time. Just to switch it up. Keep it refreshing for the audience. Now for my Halloween End sequel pitch, Scott Derrickson would be my choice for director of the movie. The writers would be Paul Brad Logan and Arkisha Stevenson, who wrote and directed the first Omen prequel that came out last year. But the story would still be by me. The filming location would be in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is where Halloween's 4, 5, and 6 were filmed. The story would pick up right after where Halloween Ends left off. Nick Simmons, who worked on Saw X, would be my second choice to do the cinematography if Michael wasn't available. Excuse me. Nick Matthews, my bad. Halloween Reborn would take place the whole month of October so the story can have time to breathe instead of it being rushed. And the film would be over 2 hours if I had the choice. But I wouldn't want the film to be too long, but enough to where the audience will be satisfied with the overall story. The movie would adapt 1978-2018 Kills and Ends novelizations into the story. And the Halloween Reborn movie would follow its own novel beat by beat. So you get the best of both worlds, in a way. If that makes any sense. But the overall look of the film, I would choose 8mm to a 6mm camera to give it that old feeling back instead of sticking with the modern look that the last 3 movies did.
I think the idea of a Halloween miniseries is actually pretty good. I don't know how I feel about it picking up after Halloween Ends, mostly because I didn't really like that movie, so I don't want anything to be followed up. I would rather we just forget Halloween Ends ever happened. Like, if someone wants to go back and do a direct sequel to Halloween Kills, perfect. I will be okay with that. We can forget about the whole Corey Cunningham debacle and just say F it. But outside of his pitch, which is pretty good, I like the idea. I would love to explore that. It's a cash. But outside of that pitch, do you think anyone could come up with a good idea that would follow Halloween Ends?
Oof. I don't know, because I can't. I'm kind of biased, not positively, towards Halloween Ends because I didn't like it. So
Same.
following up after that, like, I don't know if I would really be into it. I feel like at this point with the Halloween franchise, they just gotta put it on ice and then completely
They
reboot.
do, which is so sad because before Halloween 2018 was even announced in Whisper, I was like, okay, we need to get back to Halloween. We need Halloween back. But then having Halloween come back the way it did, it showed that like, oh, I think we need to be done with Michael for like an extended period. I feel like, was I happy when it came back? Yes, because I hated that Halloween 2 Rob Zombie was how we ended the franchise because that movie was a mess. That ending with the Vision and the Laurie, like all that was a mess. So I was glad that we got something outside of that. But I don't know. After Halloween Ends, I'm kind of good on Michael for a while. Like, he
Yeah,
can go away.
I'm kind of the same. Like, I definitely I like the 2018 Halloween, and I like Halloween Kills. But yeah, once we got to Halloween Ends, I don't really know what kind of happened there, and quite honestly, it kind of fell like very flat for me at that point, and I wasn't down for it anymore. So I think at this point we just need to not do anything involving Halloween, at least anything involving going off from Halloween Ends, and just leave it dormant and come back to it in maybe a decade.
I have a pitch because I've also heard other people say this. Not even a real pitch. I wouldn't mind a sequel if we do it because I have two ways it could be done. Two Halloween sequels. The first one would be if we did a sequel to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I would love to explore that Celtic cult and the Druids and the mask making company. Like, what happened the day after those kids were killed in a mask?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we lock in, only one time zone was hit because the whole country don't hit midnight at the same time. I mean, so only one time zone was hit, and there were like three others that were good. So, like, what's the aftermath of that? Like, what's their follow up plan to get? I don't know. I just want to explore that. Like, I don't like Halloween 3 because it doesn't have Michael Myers, but now I'm burnt out on Michael Myers. So let's explore the Season of the Witch Part 2. But
Yep.
then my second one would be, let's forget about Halloween 6 and that horrible is Michael Myers his niece, the daddy of his niece's kid. Like, let's get rid of all of that and let's have a real Halloween 6. Not even that, actually. Let's ignore four. Let's ignore 5 and 6 and do a straight sequel to Halloween 4, where we actually have like Jamie going around killing people. Jamie, we can put it in the present day where she was comatose after the events of Halloween 4, and then we're in present day, and now she's walking around killing people. It's still Halloween. It's still of the Myers Stroh lineage. It's not Michael Myers anymore. It could be different.
Mm-hmm.
We don't got that many female slashers. It could be pretty. It could be a good movie.
That's true. I'm always down for more female slashers.
But how would you feel about like a good horror movie but animated?
Oh yeah, I would be down for that. I like animated stuff. Like, there was
Because
funny enough that you say that there was a little while ago, and I feel like I sent this to you when it came out. When Scream 6 came out, there was like this like little anime short that got put out of like Ghostface, and he
yes,
looked so
yes,
fucking cool in it because like you can play so much with like the shadows and stuff of how like the suit, like how I said suit, but like how Ghostface looks and everything, and like it just looked really cool how they like animated that. And I was like, damn, I would love to see like fucking Ghostface in like an anime for like an anime show. I'd be down.
even with like, because I mentioned it because Robert Englund, he can't do Freddy anymore. He can't do those movements. He can't be as active, and Freddy's like body language and all crazy movements makes the character. But like Robert Englund could still do voice work,
That's true.
so we could still get a good Freddy movie with our original Freddy if it's animated. I don't care if it's 2D animation, if it's 3D animation. I don't care if y'all want to do the CGI crap. I kind of do. Don't do the CGI crap, please don't. Like, if y'all want to do mocap, and I don't care. I would much rather you find a way to do it to have Freddy in it. And even if you do you remember that movie, Heath Ledger's last movie, the
The
Imagination of Dr.
yeah, Dr.
Emporium or something.
Parnassus. Yeah, I
And you
know.
know how, like, when he went through, once Heath Ledger died and had other actors come in, every time he went through that little mirror, it was a different actor playing the character. Like,
Yeah,
we could have like live action stuff, but then when we see Freddy in the dream world, he could be stop motion in one and killing his victim in one dream. In another dream, it could be computer, it could be animated. In another movie, another dream, you could play around with it. So if you want the live action people there, great. But when you go into the dream world, for every person's dream, we get a different type of animated Freddy, if that makes sense. Or you could just do the whole thing animated. I'd be okay with an animated horror movie. I mean, we have animated adult oriented sitcoms. Like, why not give us a horror movie?
no, I mean, I'm down. I'm definitely down for an animated horror movie. I mean, we have you have so many options, and I think I saw what you kind of said too about Freddy. I saw someone mention that on, I believe it was Twitter as well, when Robert Englund was saying that he just can't do like physically do like a Freddy role right now, which understandable, but like with the character of how Freddy works, going into people's dreams, there's so much that you can open a door for with it being animated. Like there's like literally whatever they
And
want to do.
they could play around with CGI and stuff if
Yeah,
they want to do live
yeah,
action.
it's like literally whatever they wanted to do, they could do that in like animated form.
And you can still make it scary. You can still make it intense. It being animated, that doesn't take away from it. Just let me have a good suspenseful, gory horror movie, animated or not. I don't care.
I agree.
But we have one last listener pitch. Let's see what they have for us.
Hey, my name is Malik. I have an idea for a Conjuring sequel based off of the last Conjuring movie that they recently made, The Devil Made Me Do It. I would change the entire sequence of the movie because you never really got to see or find out who the devil actually was. You just knew that it
Not
was a
the
demon,
entire.
as well as like the other, four, three movies that they had out already. I would change the complete trajectory on it because I would actually make it satanic being for real. I would actually make it the devil, but we would actually see, hell and who the devil is as a person, or if he was like, Lucifer or whatnot be. Because they had it being possession, which is basically boring because that's the same thing as all the other movies. It was the same story over and over and over, and like it was kind of dry. So I would kind of make it more connected to the devil for real. So the trajectory of the movie would be more based on the devil actually making you do something.
I kind of like that. Even though I think I was the only one who cashed on
Yeah.
The Devil Made Me Do It. I noticed all like everything you said about it. You were like dead on because there's like a lot of issues with that movie, and I like his idea. Like, why not let's actually see a demon. Let's actually make it like satanic. It gives it more story. It makes it more scary.
Yeah, I I I get what you mean, and I feel as though you could do that if well, actually no, I'm not gonna say you could do that. You definitely could do that. Not no, but because like I was gonna say, you could do that, but they are basing it off the real story. But I'm sure the OG story was not talking about this demon lady living in this house by the river and all this other stuff that was going on in the background. So yeah, they could go wherever they want with it because at the end of the day they just base it on the case and they go off of that. So I feel like I probably would have liked that a little more possibly than what we got because it felt like it was two different things. It was two different things going on here, and they weren't connecting for me as far as the story went. It was the story of like the guy, like the dude who killed the guy, and then the other story with the lady who was kind of pulling the strings from like the other, like the afterlife or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't really it didn't come together for me, and I think that's why I didn't like it as much. And then we also kind of had the whole thing with the little kid as well at the beginning who was like seeing stuff. So it just felt like a bunch of stuff was kind of thrown at the wall for this one, and I think is why I didn't like it. Um, I think it was the same reason why I didn't like The Nun as well, because if I recall, I'm pretty sure it was the same director as The Nun. Actually, no. I think the director of the Devil Made Me Do a Conjure movie was the same guy that did La Llorona, and I didn't like that movie either.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot to explore, and I'm kind of excited to see where the last Conjuring takes us. Because I haven't seen anything, and I know the real Ed and Lorraine had so many adventures, so I don't know. It could be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other pitch or anything else you want to share?
Um, any other pitches? Not really. I think the only thing that I probably would maybe pitch would be probably, well, because I don't want to be redundant, but probably all as well like a Final Destination movie. Honestly, just to see like the opening sequence. I feel as though they never did anything on a boat, and that could be interesting. There's so much stuff they could do with that, like a
Oh,
cruise or something.
yes. They haven't done any boat stuff. You're right. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I feel as though like something on a boat could be very interesting for like what Final Destination does. Like there's so much that they could play around with that, and um, yeah, I just feel like that's something that they're kind of missing.
All
Now,
right.
so it's always weird to me that they went for, like because okay, so the first movie was Plane Crash, second movie was bad car like pile up crash. Third movie we get the roller coaster, and then I don't know why like for the fourth movie being a race NASCAR crash always pisses me off.
Yeah, that felt weird because I felt like the first three were anyone watching could be in this situation. Like anyone could be on a plane, anyone could be in a back on the highway, anyone could be at a roller coaster or a theme park. But like, I would never find myself at a NASCAR event. So I was like, this one don't do it for me because the opening didn't really do it for me because I couldn't see myself there.
Hmm. So yeah, I think that's why I think
The
like a cruise or like a boat incident could be an interesting one because a lot of people, including me, because I do not like cruises or boats. I so like that's already like just a thing that I'm not interested in. So seeing it from like a Final Destination POV, I'm sure it could be interesting.
that would be really good, and then especially if the survivors got stranded somewhere.
Ooh, that's even that. See, I wasn't even thinking that far. That's nice.
Right?
That's nice.
And that just came to like, what if they're like stranded and like capsized on the island, and while on this island, death is still trying to like get to them, which means they have to find. Not only do they have to find a way to cheat death, but they also have to find a way to get back, like get off the island. It puts even more stakes and more suspense into the movie.
I'm
They're
fucking with
out of
it.
they're out of their safe space. Somebody put us in the writers' room. That's that's all I'm hearing. Just put us in the writers' room. Well, with that being with that being said, thank you for everyone who sent in pitches. They were great. They were really interesting and fun to listen to. And then it helped me and Tuan give more pitches than we originally planned, which is great. But next week, next week we're going to be doing a holiday themed movie. I've been trying to do a lot of those this year, and we're doing Thanksgiving because next week's episode comes out on Black Friday. So why not? I have seen this one before. I saw this when it came out last year, and spoiler, I've never seen that Quentin Tarantino movie.
Inglorious
that
Bastards.
Thanksgiving.
Oh
No,
no, my bad. I thought you were saying because of Eli Roth. You're
what?
talking about the
No.
Planet Terror Death Proof.
Yeah, I've never seen that movie, so I didn't see the little. I had no idea about Thanksgiving was based off like some little like fake trailer that they put in the movie.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch that until after I saw Thanksgiving, and I was like, oh, okay, this is. I like what he did here. I liked it, so I'm hyped to talk about it. I'm hyped to watch it again for the review. Join us next week as we gather to review Thanksgiving. But until then, good night.
If you like this episode, please be sure to check out some from the Haddonfield Horror Cemetery, where we've covered big franchises such as Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Saw, or one-off reviews like The Blackening or Hereditary. You can follow Haddonfield Horrors on Instagram and TikTok, where the host posts updates and mini reviews. Full episodes are available on several podcasting platforms, including Spotify, as well as YouTube. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. The Haddonfield Horrors podcast is produced by Mark Smart, Tawan Griffin, and Elian Cordova, themed by Lethal Injection, and edited by Mark Smart.
The Haddonfield Horror Podcast is a Letter to Media production.
Should we do an intro?